Hey everybody, I hope you're having a great day so far. Today we're going to discuss the differences of 8 and 12-hour shifts and the hidden dynamics that they create. Before we begin, let me get the obvious out of the way. The main difference between 8 and 12-hour shifts is that 12-hour shifts are 4 hours longer. Simple math. If you got that one correct, you get an A for the day. Now we'll move into the weekly requirements. For 12-hour shifts, you only need 3 days or 36 hours a week to be full-time, which leaves 4 days open to do whatever you want. With 8-hour shifts, you'll need 4 to 5 days or 32 to 40 hours a week to be full-time, leaving only 3 or 2 days off respectively. The hour requirements will vary from facility to facility, but this is what I've seen for the most part. Now, on a personal level, these varying structures appeal to different people with different home responsibilities and desires. For example, childcare might be easier to find when you only need someone 3 days a week rather than 4 or 5. If your kids are older, the 12-hour shifts might not allow for enough time to be home for dinner or help with homework. If you work nights, it might be better to only need to be nocturnal 3 days out of the week rather than 5 so that you can find your way back into a normal routine. If you like to travel, you might want to stack up your 12-hour shifts so that you can go on short getaways. Other times, you might just be conditioned to work only 8 hours, and the thought of working any longer than that gives you nightmares. For me, I rather work 12s because of the flexibility it allows in my schedule. I also feel that all of the hard tasks, meaning the documentation and the med passes, are usually done in those first 8 hours, so the last 4 hours is just wrapping things up and holding on until the next shift comes. But again, your personal situation will determine your preference here. And hopefully you have the ability to act on that preference and go after the shift length that you want, but sometimes that's just not the case. Many hospitals have one or the other, and for those that have both, there's often someone that's coming in to match that outgoing nurse's shift. However, when that's not the case, someone has to float mid-shift to meet that need. Usually that person is the lowest on the totem pole, or whoever's turn it is to float if everyone's on the same playing field. And since I'm a traveler, I'm usually the one that floats. As a traveler, I often get a lot of opportunities to observe how different facilities and protocols are structured. I get a lot of time to take a step back and look in to see the bigger picture. And this is one of those areas that I've noticed has a lot of interesting outcomes depending on which way the hospital structures their shifts. There's a series of dynamics that fly under the radar if you're not looking for them. We'll start with the staffing. Besides catering to someone's personal preferences, the length of the shift determines the staffing requirements. When you have 12-hour shifts, you'll generally have 2 teams, days and nights. When you have 8-hour shifts, you have 3 teams, days, evenings, and knock shift, or night shift. This might not seem like a lot, but I think it contributes to some culture issues that I've seen in some of my experiences. When you have 2 teams, you're either always handing off or receiving a report from the same person. There's a sense of mutual respect or trust that's there. If you carry on a report acting like you're auditing them or nitpicking every little thing, you better be prepared to be on the receiving end from that person when the time comes. When you have 3 teams, you're only receiving a report from a group of people and giving a report to another group of people. That mutual respect aspect can sometimes be missing from the culture since you'll never really be in that vulnerable point in the report. There also appears to be more issuing of blame that happens. Day shift didn't do this, evenings forgot so-and-so, and nights blah, 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 blah. It goes on and on. And I'm not saying that the handoff process should be toxic or argumentative, but for whatever reason, some people like to make it this way. Why they do this, I have no idea. But I found that in my travels, this happens much less often when there's only 2 teams, meaning day and night shift, or 12-hour shifts. Next, we'll move on to patient care. A subtle variation is that there are 3 handoffs per day with the 8-hour shifts, which probably takes away somewhere between 30 minutes and an hour from patient care when it's all said and done. This is probably insignificant, but I thought I'd point this out anyway. However, a beneficial point of having 3 nurses working with a patient in a given day is the fact that there will be more eyes on this patient. Something that the 2 nurses might have missed could be picked up by that 3rd nurse. And sometimes it's great to hear, "I'm back tonight" from an outgoing nurse, and I'm all about continuity of care. But other times I wonder if 2 nurses passing the same patient back and forth is beneficial to that patient in all instances, especially if it happens for a number of days. And the last point I wanted to bring up was the timing of report between evenings and knock shift on the 8-hour shift model. It's usually somewhere around 11 p.m., which can be a little bit disruptive to patients and their sleeping patterns. I know if it's not us waking them up, it's the lab or somebody else, but I've for sure been yelled at by my older patients who I know go to bed much earlier than that. And if you're coming in for your 12-hour shift at 7 p.m. for the start, meds and vitals and all that stuff is usually wrapping up by about 9:30 or so, which makes a much more reasonable start to your shift. So again, this isn't a huge deal, but on the 8-hour model, I just feel like on nights, there needs to be more intentional clustering of care and reducing the amount of interruptions so that we can allow our patients to rest. And I think that about wraps this one up. What are your thoughts on this? What shift length do you prefer? And have you encountered any other dynamics that I didn't mention? Be sure to comment below or reach out to me on social media. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking it and subscribing to my channel. If you do, please don't forget to sign up for notifications so that you'll get updated when I release new content. Till next time, everybody, take care, be good.